Zhuge Liang governed in Chengdu, personally overseeing nearly every matter of state, big or small. Under his administration, Shu was peaceful and prosperous. People lived without fear, doors were left unlocked at night, and lost items on the road were left untouched. Year after year of good harvests ensured that both the young and the old lived comfortably, with enough food and warm clothing. Whenever the government required labor or supplies, the people responded willingly, even competing to fulfill their duties. As a result, the army's provisions, weapons, and logistical supplies were all abundant, granaries were full, and the treasury overflowed. In the third year of Jianxing, however, urgent news arrived from the south. Meng Huo, king of the southern tribes, had gathered an army of 100,000 and begun invading the borders, pillaging everywhere he went. At the same time, Yong Kai, descendant of a Han general, betrayed the state and joined Meng Huo. Zhu Bao and Gao Ding, governors of neighboring regions, also surrendered their cities to the rebels. Only Wang Kong of Yongchang refused to yield and held out under siege, though his situation was becoming increasingly desperate. Zhuge Liang entered court and requested permission to personally lead a campaign against the Southern Rebellion. Lu Shan hesitated, expressing concern. With Zhuge Liang gone, what if Wu or Wei attacked? Zhuge Liang calmly explained that Wu was currently at peace with Shu and unlikely to act rashly. Even if they did, Li Yan could defend against Lu Sun. As for Wei, Cao Pai had just suffered setbacks and lacked the strength for a distant campaign. Furthermore, strong defenses were in place at Hanzhong, and capable generals remained behind to protect the court. He then declared his deeper purpose, to pacify the south completely before turning north to restore the Han, fulfilling both Liu Bei's trust and his own duty. Lu Shan, still young and inexperienced, entrusted all decisions to him. During the discussion, Wang Lian stood out among the officials and strongly opposed the expedition. He argued that the southern lands were remote, harsh, and filled with disease, and that Zhuge Liang, as the pillar of the state, should not risk himself. In his view, the rebellion was minor and could be handled by sending a capable general. Zhuge Liang disagreed. He explained that the southern tribes were distant from central authority and not easily governed. Subduing them required not only military strength, but also careful judgment, balancing force with leniency. Such a mission could not simply be delegated. Ignoring repeated objections, Zhuge Liang prepared for departure. He organized his command staff and generals, appointing key figures to assist him and lead the army. With a massive force of hundreds of thousands, the Shu army set out in grand formation toward the south. Not long after departing, Guan Suo, the son of Guan Yu, arrived to join the campaign. Having been injured and unable to act after the fall of Jingzhou, he had long wished to serve and avenge his father. Now recovered, he seized the opportunity to join Zhuge Liang's army. Zhuge Liang was both surprised and moved, and immediately appointed him as a vanguard officer. As the army advanced, strict discipline was maintained. Soldiers followed orders carefully, took only what they needed, and never disturbed civilians. Wherever they passed, they left no harm behind. On the opposing side, Yong Kai learned that Zhuge Liang was personally leading the army and quickly coordinated with Gao Ding and Zhu Bao. They divided their forces into 3 routes to confront the Shu army. Gao Ding's General Yi Huan, a fierce warrior, led the vanguard. When Shu forces encountered Yi Huan, Wei Yan engaged him in battle. After a brief clash, Wei Yan feigned retreat, luring Yi Huan into pursuit. Soon, ambush forces led by Zhang Yi and Wang Ping cut off his retreat, and together they captured him alive. Yi Huan was brought before Zhuge Liang. Instead of punishing him, Zhuge Liang treated him with respect, released him, and asked him to persuade Gao Ding to surrender. This unexpected act of mercy deeply impressed Yi Huan, and later influenced Gao Ding's thinking. In subsequent engagements, Zhuge Liang used ambush tactics to defeat the rebel forces again, capturing large numbers of soldiers. Zhuge Liang then implemented a clever psychological strategy. He separated prisoners based on their affiliations and spread rumors that Gao Ding's men would be spared while Yong Kai's would be executed. Fear and suspicion quickly spread among the prisoners. Through careful questioning and manipulation, Zhuge Liang reinforced the division between the two factions. At the same time, he sent back released prisoners carrying misleading messages, suggesting that Yong Kai planned betrayal. He even staged false communications to deepen the distrust. These tactics gradually drove a wedge between the rebel leaders. Gao Ding, increasingly suspicious, eventually turned against Yong Kai. Following Zhuge Liang's indirect influence, Gao Ding killed Yong Kai and later also eliminated Zhu Bao. With their deaths, the rebellion began to collapse. When Gao Ding came to surrender, Zhuge Liang initially tested his sincerity before ultimately accepting him. He then appointed Gao Ding to govern the region, stabilizing the situation. As the campaign continued deeper into the south, Ma Su arrived as an imperial envoy bearing rewards. After distributing the gifts, he stayed behind to speak with Zhuge Liang. Ma Su offered a crucial piece of strategic advice. The southern tribes, protected by difficult terrain and distance, might rebel again even if defeated militarily. Therefore, true success required winning their loyalty, not just defeating them in battle. He summarized this with the principle: the highest form of warfare is to conquer the enemy's will. Zhuge Liang greatly appreciated this insight and kept Ma Su as an advisor. Meanwhile, Meng Huo gathered 3 tribal commanders and divided his forces to resist the Shu army. Zhuge Liang carefully deployed his generals, even deliberately withholding assignments from Zhao Yun and Wei Yan to provoke their initiative. Motivated to prove themselves, the two launched a night raid, striking the enemy camp by surprise. They killed one of the tribal commanders and caused chaos among the enemy forces. Following Zhuge Liang's broader strategy, other Shu generals coordinated attacks, cutting off escape routes and capturing additional enemy leaders. What stood out again was Zhuge Liang's approach after victory. Instead of executing the captured commanders, he released them, providing food, clothing, and gifts. His intention was clear: to weaken resistance not through fear, but through gratitude and respect. Finally, Meng Huo himself entered the battlefield. Confident and dismissive of Shu's forces, he underestimated their strength and pursued what appeared to be a retreat. This was exactly what Zhuge Liang had planned. As Meng Huo advanced, he was drawn into a series of layered ambushes. Attacked from multiple directions, his army collapsed into chaos. Meng Huo fled into the mountains, but the terrain became increasingly difficult. Eventually, he was captured alive by Wei Yan. Brought before Zhuge Liang, he remained defiant. He argued that the land rightfully belonged to his people and refused to admit defeat, claiming he had only been captured due to circumstance. Zhuge Liang asked whether he would submit, and Meng Huo firmly refused. At this moment, Zhuge Liang made a surprising decision. He ordered Meng Huo to be released, providing him with supplies and escorting him safely back. Meng Huo agreed to return, reorganize his forces, and fight again, promising that if he were captured once more, he would truly submit. Summary: this chapter marks Zhuge Liang's first major success in the Southern Campaign and introduces his core strategic philosophy: winning hearts rather than relying solely on force. Although Shu was internally stable and prosperous, the Southern Rebellion posed a serious and recurring threat. Zhuge Liang understood that a simple military victory would not bring lasting peace. Instead, he needed to fundamentally change the attitudes of the southern tribes. Through a combination of military tactics, psychological warfare, and calculated mercy, he dismantled the rebel alliances and defeated multiple enemy forces. Most importantly, after capturing Menghua, he chose not to execute him, but to release him, laying the foundation for the famous 7 captures and 7 releases. This strategy reflects a deeper understanding of governance and warfare. True stability comes not from fear, but from genuine submission and trust. Key insights. 1. The story of Zhuge Liang capturing and releasing Menghua 7 times is highly dramatized. In historical records, Zhuge Liang's southern campaign is mentioned, but there is no detailed account of repeated captures and releases. This narrative likely serves to emphasize his wisdom and benevolence. 2. The portrayal of Zhao Yun and Wei Yan in this chapter is exaggerated for dramatic effect. Historically, Zhao Yun's later years were relatively less active in major campaigns, and the success of the southern expedition is generally attributed to Zhuge Liang's overall strategy, rather than individual battlefield heroics. 3. Ma Su's famous statement about conquering the heart as the highest strategy does not appear in official historical texts. It reflects later military philosophy and literary interpretation, rather than a recorded historical dialogue, highlighting the novel's emphasis on strategic ideals. Key insights. 1. The story of Zhuge Liang capturing and releasing Menghua 7 times is highly dramatized. In historical records, Zhuge Liang's southern campaign is mentioned, but there is no detailed account of repeated captures and releases. This narrative likely serves to emphasize his wisdom and benevolence. 2. The portrayal of Zhao Yun and Wei Yan in this chapter is exaggerated for dramatic effect. Historically, Zhao Yun's later years were relatively less active in major campaigns, and the success of the southern expedition is generally attributed to Zhuge Liang's overall strategy, rather than individual battlefield heroics. 3. Ma Su's famous statement about conquering the heart as the highest strategy does not appear in official historical texts. It reflects later military philosophy and literary interpretation, rather than a recorded historical dialogue, highlighting the novel's emphasis on strategic ideals.